How is Narendra Modi and why is he so popular?
I think the major reason why Prime Minister Modi, seems to be on his way back, and it's believed, and in fact, the only debate is what is the number of seats he is getting this time, and obviously predicting a much bigger mandate than even 2019. If you look at the BJP manifesto, it clearly says and starts with Modi ki guarantee. So,
Hmm.
what exactly is the Modi ki guarantee and the 70 odd page Sankalp Patra, what they call the manifesto? And you pick up any sector, it is agriculture, it is infrastructure, it is financial inclusion, it is bank transfers. And last 10 years have been completely free of corruption.
Hello and welcome. I am really privileged that Dr. Manish has joined me. Dr. Manish is a professor at Jawaharlal Nehru University, and he is also affiliated with the International Affairs School there. And he's a very well known and well qualified academic from our neighboring country. And I thought that this was an opportune time to discuss the Indian election. As we all know, India is world's largest democracy with the most highest number of voters that go out and elect the new government. And by all indications, opinion polls and analysis, it seems that the BJP, which has been ruling India for the past two terms, and its Prime Minister Narendra Modi are all set to return. Now, how big a majority they will gain, these are open questions. Of course, the electorate has to decide. But Dr. Manish, thank you so much for being with us. I want to start with the big question that, of course, intrigues everyone around the world, including Pakistan. How is Narendra Modi and why is he so popular?
Thank you, Raza Bhai, for having me on your program. It's truly an honor. Uh, I think there are a couple of things which we need to understand, and obviously, you rightly pointed out that this is really a huge democratic exercise which is going on via the 2024 Lok Sabha elections in India. I think the major reason why Prime Minister Modi, seems to be on his way back, and it's believed, and in fact, the only debate is what is the number of seats he is getting this time, and obviously predicting a much bigger mandate than even 2019. So you would remember that 2014 he started out with a simple majority, but obviously 2019 he went much ahead, and by his party, the Bharatiya Janata Party, bagged 303 seats. So this time, in fact, Prime Minister himself and his party has set a target of 370 seats for the BJP alone, and for the NDA, which is the National Democratic Alliance, 400 plus seats. But I'm sure we'll come to that part later. But I think the simple reason why this is expected is because of the typical two things: the message and the messenger. I think on the message front, if you look at the BJP manifesto, it clearly says and starts with Modi ki guarantee. So,
Hmm.
what exactly is the Modi ki guarantee and the 70 odd page Sankalp Patra, what they call the manifesto, clearly lays out what they have done in the last 10 years. And you pick up any sector, it is agriculture, it is infrastructure, it is financial inclusion, it is bank transfers, and last 10 years have been completely free of corruption coming out in the open. So I think that's a big change, which the citizenry seem to be liking from and again, the government is obviously regularly pointing out the record of the UPA, immediate record of the last, in fact, 10 years, the UPA 2004 2014, and from 2014 to 2024, the scale is remains unmatched. I mean, the scale, the dream, the vision. I think that is what seems to be bringing Narendra Modi back to power in on June 4th.
Okay, so yeah, so I mean, I certainly would pick on many of the points that you've raised, but Dr. Dabade, I want to ask you, the statistics. I mean, many Indian commentators, and obviously I read the Indian press very closely and follow it. So they say that this has to do more with identity politics and the kind of message and the consolidation of a what is known as the Hindu identity, or Hindutva, it's also known. I mean, many terms have been applied. And because if you look at some of the data, then, unemployment remains high. I mean, yes, people have come up out of poverty in India in the recent years. But, there's a magic going on. There's a Modi magic, which propels people to, go and vote for BJP. One thing I've also read is that they have a very remarkable machinery on the ground, grassroots organization of BJP and its affiliate RSS. So, how far are those factors contributing to this return, imminent or expected return of Narendra Modi?
No, you're absolutely right that identity is playing a very important role. But please understand that it is one of the pillars of Modi's appeal, Modi's national appeal. And in fact, equal important or more important are his delivery on a range of issues. And in fact, one of the major supporters which will be propelling Modi back to power are the whole Labharthis. So you have Labharthis, so-called beneficiaries of government schemes. And again, and at one time we had a former Indian Prime Minister saying that we are sending 1 rupee from the top, and literally 15 paisa is going to the common people, so to the beneficiaries. But now I think all those leakages have been plugged, and you see, I mean, pick up, the Ujjwala Yojana, which is about giving free gas connections to women, the Nal Se Jal Yojana, pick up the PM Kisan Samman, and I can just go on and on. The issue is that there has been an active and very, very proactive reaching out to those prospective sort of Labharthis, and ensuring that Pakka House. So I think all these have in fact added to the power, to the Modi magic. And I'm not at all saying that Hindutva or the identity is not playing a role. Obviously, look at the whole euphoria, the national euphoria on, the building of the Ram Temple, the Pran Pratishtha of the Ram Temple, or even revocation, abrogation of Article 370. So I think it's a mix of, identity. It's a mix of governance, actual, real track record of governance, and that's exactly. In fact, I would urge people who are interested in understanding the Modi magic, as you rightly said, is please look at their Sankalp Patra. In fact, each of those categories, in fact, starts with pointing out and cataloging what they have done, what the government has done in the past 10 years, and then in fact going ahead and actually promising again this whole big promise of taking India from being the fifth largest economy to the third largest economy in his next term.
Yeah, no, definitely economic progress and India's standing, the world international standing is also something that I saw that in the election campaign, and it was referred to. But what were the key issues in this campaign? I mean, obviously, there's a big opposition to Narendra Modi as well. The Indian National Congress, the regional parties. Like Samajwadi Party, BSP, the parties in the south and in West Bengal. So, what were the key issues that were being debated, Dr. Manish, in this election campaign?
I think as I started out, when I'm saying it is about the message and the messenger, so I think on the other side, it's also about the lack of a messenger. So there is no unified messenger, someone
Mm.
who is acceptable to the opposition party as their national face. I think, despite what Rahul Gandhi is doing, with the Indian National Congress, or pick up, in DMK, you have Stalin. So obviously, there is no unified message which is coming out from the opposition. And on the other side, you see that Prime Minister has been regularly through his campaign rallies, through his campaign speeches, and his interviews to both national and international media, again is repeatedly talking about, that requesting the voters, requesting the commentariat to actually look at the record and again, as I said, it is really about performance. It is really about delivering what had been promised. And again, not just politically but also economically. There are issues, obviously, but I think one of the major issues in recent days also his action against corruption. So you do have the ED sort of taking action, and again, for example, you have the Delhi chief minister in prison because of the act, the Supreme Court action. I think so. Supreme Court also not giving relief, knowing, looking at what is there on the table in terms of assessing the corruption charges. So I think those are the sorts of issues that what Prime Minister is saying, that okay, he's been acting against the corrupt, and in fact promising more action against the corrupt. In his next term.
Yeah, so while this is all true, but the opposition in India, there's a big argument. The Guardian, for example, had put out an editorial 2 days ago that locking up the opposition or undermining dissent is does not bode well for India. Now, this is a view, obviously, that is contested because the BJP or the government. They think, but is this view largely shared in Indian sort of intelligentsia, or is it like a minority view? I'm very keen to know your
No, there are obviously, I would not say that there are concerns which are being voiced both national and internationally, but I think there is a popular sort of support to Prime Minister Modi's actions for example, against corruption and against, because what was happening is that, and please look, in fact, one of the major sort of and I found it a very emotive appeal which he has been saying across rallies. In different parts of the country, that that he was really acting against the corrupt, and it was the opposition now which was really talking about saving the corrupt. So I think those sorts of, I think, at some level do have a popular resonance, because also that you found, in fact, one of the Congress MPs was found with stashed with his home was stashed with 300 plus crores in cash, and also similarly, I think that there are concerns, but I think they are overblown, and at one level they seem to be much more about peak with the ruling dispensation, rather than substantial sort of take substantial take on the issues at hand.
right. Now, you also mentioned the Ayodhya Ram temple that was rebuilt after the demolition of Babri Mosque in 1992, and that has obviously it was inaugurated with much fanfare, with all the politicians and Bollywood, everyone there. Now, at that time and later and throughout Narendra Modi's rule, this concern has also been raised about the minorities. Now, not just the Muslims being a very large minority in India, but also the Christians and other groups which are smaller in number. Now, how much of that plays a role in the electoral politics? Because in certain constituencies there are a good number of Muslims, especially in the UP, and you have others. So, I mean, does it really impact that, or you think that it is no longer relevant?
No, I think it is increasingly not exactly losing relevance, but I think the relevance is declining for sure, because one of the stronger and I think a very significant pitch which Prime Minister Modi is also making is that, as I said, if it is really about governance, it is really about development, it is really about delivery of government schemes. So, there is no discrimination amongst either the Hindus or any other minorities, including the Muslims, about those schemes. So, for example, if you're talking about Ujwala scheme, or as I said earlier, I mean Nal Se Jal, so there is no discrimination. So, largely, I think the larger picture obviously seems to be that there is an active sort of intervention on behalf of the government, targeted at all the citizens, irrespective of their caste, irrespective of their religion. So I think at some stage, this is, I mean, it is really the relevance of such issues are declining. There are obviously voices, I mean, in the country which really try to, I mean, or which really, I mean, show, I mean, concern at times. Those are genuine concerns. I would not disagree with that. That raising concerns about such issues, but I think there is a gradual sort of even within the minorities that okay, we are benefiting from the larger development which is generally I mean happening. And again, on the Ram Mandir issue, I think it is also important to understand that there's a history, and I think the solution which actually came from the Supreme Court was largely accepted by all the communities, and it was welcome, because it was really a sort of festering sort of dispute for many decades. And I think I mean at one level this seemed to be giving a sense of closure to really I mean the communities, or the leadership. I would not say the communities. Communities have been living together, but I think at some level the leaderships of I mean, especially Hindus and Muslims, seem to be reconciled and happy with the. I mean, it's not a perfect solution. I mean, I would not say that it's a perfect solution, but I think generally there has. I mean, they have welcomed what
Yeah,
I mean, what's happened on that front.
I get that point. Now, the other issue that I wanted to raise with you was also the in Modi's international engagement and his foreign policy. So, I mean, it is a very, the trend has been very clear that, India is now very closely allied with the United States and the Western powers. And obviously, and India as a market, as a destination for investment is also playing a role in that. So, what do you think? I mean, will Narendra Modi in his next term, if he gets elected and becomes the prime minister, he's going to consolidate that, or is he going to diversify? Because historically, India's policy was non-aligned for many decades, and now we see a tilt, a shift. So, where do you think that is going to go after this, third term?
No, I think there are two aspects of Prime Minister Modi's, and in fact, I teach diplomacy and international relations. So, in fact, if one closely looks at his track record, it is clearly two aspects, I think, which he is really focusing on. Is one is obviously the international ambition which Prime Minister Modi himself has to take India to a certain sort of place in the community of nations. That is, I think, we saw in the G20 summit how he, I mean, extremely competently choreographed and really put out the message of India as the leader of the global South by getting in African Union. I think that was a very powerful message of inclusion, and knowing what was happening on the Russia-Ukraine question, that Modi managed to get a consensus document, the New Delhi Summit Declaration, that itself was a sign of I think his capacity as globally. So I think that is one point, and and I think at one level, the other level, I think he is very clear that if India is setting a target of, if Modi is setting a target of taking India from the fifth largest economy to the third largest economy, there has to be a very congenial sort of I mean international environment for India to reach that goal. And so India is looking for very actively, proactively looking for partnerships with the US, but also in fact also with Russia. So it's not that despite I mean moving closely to the US in the form of also Quad. that India has given up, or India is completely, ignoring Russia. Russia obviously plays a very important role as a P5, Security Council member, but also very important defense and political strategic linkages. So I think India is playing will continue to play that balancing act, and India definitely sees herself as one of the poles in a gradually moving, in a gradually, emerging multipolar world order.
Acha. So, Dr. Manish, yeah, that certainly, I mean, this uh, tricky balance and tightrope walk. Of course, countries like India, I mean, they cannot annoy Russia because of your historical ties. Now, let's come to the region and South Asia, which is, of course, many of our viewers would be interested. So before the elections, I again read a lot of commentaries on. The South Asia policy of the BJP, and whether in this election that would play a role. It hasn't really played that much of a role. I mean, I was following the campaign. But what do you think? I mean, one question that as a Pakistani I am interested in is that many people hold that, maybe this time in this third term, Mr. Modi might be looking at his legacy and may be open to normalizing ties with Pakistan. Do you think that happening, or is it still going to be stuck with the old range of issues, unresolved issues between India and Pakistan?
No, I think there are two. I mean, again, two sort of dimensions to this. One is that India has already said that, the policy has been about zero tolerance of terrorism. So I think that is also in some ways also constraining India's options while dealing with Pakistan. The other side also is that you had your own former prime minister also saying that, unless and until Article 370 was restored, no further conversations can happen. So in fact, both have in fact stuck themselves in, in sort of a status quo, and seems to be heading, or seems to be in a deep freeze as of now. But you obviously had the new prime minister when he was sworn in, Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif. So pleasantries were exchanged on
Yeah.
social media. So I think so that is about it. And I generally, other than Pakistan, India is really looking at obviously more and more connectivity with countries like Bangladesh, with Myanmar, with Nepal and Bhutan. But I don't see as of now some sort of forward movement because of the declaratory positions from both sides. And on the Pakistani side also, I think the incumbent government, or even the Pakistani army, which really matters in a big way,
Yeah.
they have also not resigned it from that stated position of Imran Khan.
Yes, that's true. That is the official position.
Yes.
But our new foreign minister did express the hope for better trade. So let's see where it goes. But for now, Dr. Manish, thank you so much for joining me
Thank
and
you.
sharing your views. We shall indeed keep on talking, and it's a pleasure always to converse with you. And I will request you again to update after the election results, because Indian elections attract a global attention, and people want to make sense of what is happening in this large, complex, diverse country. So thank you so much, and hope to see you again.
Yeah, thank you. I too enjoyed this. Thanks.
Yes.